The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mind Garden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day. All while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
Welcome back to another bonus episode of the Sandy and Toddcast. And I am Sandy, and this is Dave.
Yes, I'm back. I don't know how many I've done now. This is like the fourth special.
Yeah, because when Todd or I or somebody has something going on, we like to keep the content going. We like to keep everybody happy. And so you're just an easy person because you're right downstairs from my studio. So I just bring you on, and I think we have some good conversations.
Yeah, I can fake it pretty well.
So you're not Todd, but, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. So this week we wanted to talk about something pretty personal. I've talked about it here and there on the show. Briefly, a couple of years ago, almost 2 years ago in April, I lost a very dear friend of mine. And this may be a little bit of an emotional bonus episode. I lost a very dear friend of mine. His name was Trey. And we had known each other for several years. And we were very close. And he died tragically in a car accident. And I didn't find out at first until a few months after his death, because nowadays with technology, we all keep everybody's telephone numbers in our phone. But what happens when you don't have your phone anymore?
And part of it was also because he lived a few hours away.
Right, he did. He lived a few hours away, and so there was no way for anybody to get in touch with me, no way for me to get in touch with anybody or no. Although I will say this, Dave, you've witnessed the past few years that weird things happened. Even right at the time of his death, weird things were happening here to me. And I just didn't realize, I didn't put the two together and realize it at the time. And then I found out a few months later, and to say I was devastated probably was an understatement. And I was a mess. And a couple days after I found out that he had died, I kind of woke up one morning and realized, well, wait a minute. You're an investigator. This is what you do. And you have these abilities. This is what you do. Use them. And so for the first time ever, a couple of years ago, I decided to use the spirit box to try and contact Trey. And you remember the first time.
Now, how long after he died did you try that?
He passed at the end of April, and I tried it in mid-July.
All right. So it was a couple of months, because there were other episodes that we were wondering about here in the studio with things moving or things being knocked over or things out of place, but I was trying to figure out the timeline.
Yeah, and it was going on in that time period, and I never without knowing that he had passed away, because it wasn't unusual for us to go a little while without speaking to each other, just because where he lived was in the mountains and it was very poor service, and so we didn't speak all the time.
Yeah, and he worked a lot, and he was on the road a lot, so that was pretty
He was an
typical.
incredible family man, and he had several children, and he was always doing something school, children related or work related, but we talked whenever we could, and so I just never put the two together, and then things ramped up after this session that I did, and you remember that. That was really emotional, to say the least. My name came through. Some other things came through that were very him-specific, Trey-specific.
His daughter's name, if I remember.
His daughter's name, one of his daughters. He said his daughter's name. He said that he missed me. He loved me too. All of that kind of stuff.
And again, this was in the spirit box, so it wasn't the random things that we've joked about where somebody could come through in a spirit box and it could say hot dog and it would have nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Like, are you okay, hot dog? And then you try to kind of do you want a hot dog? The crazy stuff that you would try to kind of reconcile the two things together. And but none of that happened. And we were kind of blown away. And things continued over the past couple of years. Things would move. Things would knock over. There would be weird things happening. And I pretty much knew that he was here and he was visiting. And then all of a sudden it stopped for a while. And I was a little concerned that maybe, let me put it this way. I was concerned and excited that maybe he had just moved on, because you don't want someone to feel trapped in an area. And anybody who listens to the show knows that I don't believe that you are bound to a place physically. You're bound to a place mentally, emotionally, that kind of thing.
Right. I remember you had talked to Todd about it after, and you both had thought that maybe because he wasn't around much or he wasn't around anymore, that maybe he had moved on to somewhere else.
And I would have been fine. I miss him either way. But I would have been happy for him that he had moved on. Well, come to find out, he hasn't. And I knew this. I kind of knew this deep down anyways. So his birthday was on Thursday. And I didn't get a chance to. I haven't really used the spirit box very often. I don't want to be one of those people that sort of becomes obsessed with this idea. I wanted to only use it when I really felt I needed to use it to communicate with him. And his birthday was Thursday. And so on Friday, I used the spirit box. And I had a conversation with him that, I don't know, Dave. We've talked about this several times since then. Now, what I did was I did the spirit box session, put it on my computer, and didn't touch it. Didn't look at it, didn't listen to it, did not touch it for 24 hours because I wanted to take the emotion out of it. And when you're in the moment doing a spirit box session, you can think you hear things that maybe aren't what you think you hear. Your mind can be very suggestible during those times. And so I purposely just didn't touch it for about 24 hours and I let myself calm down.
And in addition to that, we always review things, both of us.
Yes.
Sandy will go through a lot of things and then she'll say, I want you to hear this or I want you to hear that. And I'll listen to different clips, a lot of times boosted so that I can hear it through headphones, because you really have to listen to a lot of them through headphones to get some of the masked words, right, especially with the kind of noise in the spirit box. So it really helps to listen with headphones, and we'll sometimes compare notes on it. And she might say, I think that it says this, let me know what you think. And then there are times that I'm going to say, maybe it says that, not this. And so we'll listen to it. And then sometimes I'll listen to it on my own computer with my own boosting or my own EQing or slowing it down. And we may compare notes on it that way.
And sometimes we'll agree. We'll say, okay, it was this, or it was that. And it's really, I'm very grateful to have you. And I do this with Todd, too. I'll send Todd things, too, because when you're that close to something, when it's someone that you would consider family, you can be incredibly emotional. And your emotions can actually guide your decisions and your thought-making process. And so I don't like to do that because at heart, I know it sounds funny because I have these psychic abilities and I do investigations, but at heart I am a skeptic and I try to disprove everything that happens before I can say I'm just blown away and I can't disprove this. Right.
The start of it is usually skepticism. That you don't really think that it could be. And then you sort of try to prove it to yourself. But we do the same thing with EVPs. It's not just with the spirit box kind of audio. Right. We'll listen to the EVPs the same way and try and discern what is there, sometimes independently.
Yeah, and it's a really good way to do checks and balances on each other because, we had actually with this situation, before we get into what I actually got in the conversation, in this conversation that I had, the spirit box session, I thought it was one thing. You said, no, I think it's this. But then when I played with it a little bit more and had you come up, you said, no, you're right. It is this.
Right.
It's not that.
Sometimes it's very fast. If somebody speaks very, very quickly, we'll actually slow it down because the software that we have can slow down the audio just enough to maybe make out the words, and that's exactly what happened here.
And I thought about that too, and that also may be just because it sweeps so fast that the energy that the Spirit uses is in that same vein. It's a very fast thing. It doesn't mean that they're not really saying it. Slowing it down doesn't mean you're making something out of nothing. It just means that you're able to make it more digestible, make it something a little bit easier to understand.
Right, and it's the same idea with making it louder so that we might be able to hear it a little bit. And I did that with a phrase where I took the second part of the phrase and made it louder so that it would just convince me that it does say what we think it says.
Right. So I have about 11 and a half minutes of conversation. And I use the word conversation. I don't use it lightly because a lot of times what will happen is you'll ask a question and like you said, you'll get hot dog or you'll get, kitchen or something crazy or you get nothing at all. And very rarely can you ask several questions in a row and get several intelligent answers corresponding to the question that you asked.
That makes sense.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
You can get one here and there. You can say how many people are in here right now, and you might get a 6, but then you get nothing for the rest of the time. So this was a very rare conversation, and it really blew me away. And I want to share it with everybody because if there's one thing that this has done, it's sort of, like I said, I've told you that it's really convinced me more than I think anything that I've experienced thus far. And I've had a lot of experiences that run the gamut. I just feel like this conversation really was my proof that there is more after we die. And
also in the conversation, because you got so many realistic answers, you didn't get those, like you said, hot dog. You didn't get, did you blank, and the answer was Chevy Nova. Or you were you able to blank hot dog? You didn't get those answers.
Out of the probably 20 different questions I asked, and I repeated things a lot, like I'd say, can you say my name? Even if I heard my name being said, I'd say it again, because to me that's kind of more proof that it's staying along those lines. And it's interesting because the more I said, can you say my name, the more my name was said. And it's as if in response, which it was. I remember at one point, his daughter had posted something on Facebook about his birthday. And I asked him at one point if he had seen that post. And he responded with seen it. And I'm going to play that right now. So it would be best to put your headphones on. If you can put your headphones on, I'm going to boost it as much as I can if you don't have headphones. But it's really important to be able to have your headphones on if you can. And this was the response I got when I asked him if he had seen it.
And again, you'll hear the spirit box noise, that kind of white noise, that so just kind of disregard that as much as you can and listen for the actual voice audio.
Here we go. Everybody does. She posted about your birthday on Facebook yesterday. Did you see that? That was something.
Yeah.
That was something.
Maybe you can play it again, like I always say. Play it again. Everybody always says that.
Play it again, Sam.
Because you just want to reinforce your own ears.
Yeah. Let's play it one more time. Everybody does. She posted about your birthday on Facebook yesterday. Did you see that? So that to me was very clear. A lot of times when I'm doing a session, I can't make out what's being said, or I think I've made out what's being said. And So a lot of times you don't realize it until after the fact that they're responding to you. There were a few times during that conversation where I actually did hear what I thought I heard, which was really amazing to me as well. At one point, Trey used to say, "What up?" And at one point in there, he said, "What up?" And I laughed. And I said, "Did you really just say that?" Like, that was great. And
it's actually probably the clearest piece of evidence that you got in that 11 minutes or so, the what up.
What up? Let's listen to that one really, really quick right now. Can you say my name again, Trey? And then there was one in the beginning. I had started to speak, and I heard something come through. And so I said to him, I said, "Trey, did you say something? I know I talked over you." And immediately I got, "You did." And so let's listen to that one right now, because that was pretty cool. Trey, can you say my name again? I think I talked over you. Well, let's do this one more time. Trey, can you say my name again? I think I talked over you. Pretty amazing.
Yep.
And then let's do one more. Let's do the one where I asked if he was okay. And I heard, "I'm good." Are you okay?
Yeah, that was a good one, too.
I'm good.
Yeah, play that one again so they can hear it again.
Let's do it. Are you okay? All intelligent responses through the whole conversation, like responses that answered my questions.
Right, so we've played 3 or 4 here, and you can see what we were talking about, that it wasn't nonsensical answers that didn't make any sense, because when we went through all the clips, we didn't hear any of those.
No.
Hot dog as the example.
There was nothing random there. There was absolutely nothing random there. And that was, I think, perhaps the most surprising to me, that nothing was random. They were all pretty intelligent responses to my questions.
Right. And we've done the Spirit Box a number of times out at locations, and we would never get that many real responses to our questions. You might get 1 or 2 here and there, but you're also going to hear some kind of gibberish or just some kind of nonsensical thing, or what was that? But we didn't get that a lot with this time.
No. And so, again, just really reinforced my thoughts and my beliefs that we are more after we physically leave this earth. We are definitely more. And we are there, and we are checking in on our loved ones.
Well, this is certainly proof of that. What more can you say? It's certainly proof of that. You know, people think that, okay, that's the end of your life, bye-bye. But obviously there's a legacy and there's a memory, and now there may be more to it.
Yeah, I really believe so, and especially when you hear the inflection that was his, the sound that was his. One of them actually came through. I seen was his voice. And so it's just unbelievably amazing to me, and it gives me hope. It gives me a lot of hope. So I can only say to anyone who wants to try it, if you have questions, ask me. I've done it now for a while, and I can help you out, and I can give you some suggestions, and I say just don't give up. They're with you. They're definitely with you.
It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how. It makes me wonder where. But for someone who really didn't know any of this some years ago and was just skeptical of it all, each time I hear pieces of evidence like this, I don't have an answer, but I don't have a close the door on it either.
No.
It just keeps the door open and maybe opens another door.
Yeah. And it keeps inching me closer and closer to, I'll never stop trying to connect and learn and share the things that I experience, Gives us all hope.
A lot of interesting experiences you get, that's for sure.
So thank you, Dave, for joining me so we could talk about this a little bit. And Todd and I will be back next week with another episode of the Sandy and Toddcast. So thank you guys for everything you do in supporting us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening.